then when we're on the side of the spiral arm that's advancing Andromeda, that's advancing through time-space, we will be experiencing an entirely different density of time than when we're on the side of the galaxy that's retreating from the direction of travel through space. So essentially we have this bizarre situation where we have compressed and stretched fields of the time-space grid to consider, and that these twist into the most tortured toroidal effects. This is what we see as forming. I mean, the stars at the centre of galaxies are known to travel at vast spin speeds, much faster than can possibly be explained by common Newtonian mechanics. But if you apply this sense of the time that they're experiencing is of a different nature, the time-space that those stars are operating in is of a fundamentally different nature to the time-space that we can measure and test here on Earth. And that this again is the point, that how would we know if we were travelling through a denser period of time-space? We as the observer on Earth, the clocks on our wall would still read a second for a second in our time, but as an external observer we could be being extruded like the toothpaste from a tube through a time lens and be experiencing vastly different gradations of time. And it's my suggestion that this cyclic ecliptic path that we travel to and fro and above and below the galactic equator will essentially pass us through two counter-rotating areas of time-space, from the northern equatorial regions to the southern equatorial regions, and, like I say, through an area of kind of intermediary space, in-between space, non-rotational space, with an intensely dense energy field being kind of squeezed from these two vortices out through the lateral plane of the galaxy and heading straight for us. And there's certainly some suggestion from the wisdom of the ancients, the reason why they would go and bury themselves in holes in the ground to go and meditate was because if you bury yourself in a hole in the ground, you exclude yourself from the general kind of electromagnetic chatter that the solar system throws at you, and instead your only influence is these highly energetic particles that travel straight through rock and out through the planet and out the other side within a whisker of a second, and that these are possibly responsible for triggering the spontaneous reactivation of your pineal gland during waking moments. So it's entirely possible, and I have heard it said, that these vast electromagnetic fields squashing these high-speed, low-energy, low-mass intergalactic particle streams into the region of space that we're going to be travelling through may well switch us all on. It may be like some prolonged fucking LSD trip or meditational trance. Time itself may become so distorted and plastic that we may find that we can achieve things that would be inconceivable, that it almost feels to me already like the approach of 2012 has ever got further away. It's almost like time itself has become so very plastic and elastic and stretched and contrived that the experience that we're all sharing at the moment is one of just enormous acceleration. But that if you put that acceleration on a time graph, on an XY graph, and then consider the time part of that XY graph to be an elastic dimension and stretch that graph out, suddenly you find a linearity. Where there's a bell curve, there becomes a straight line. So, Paddy, began up as podcast, mate. I've been asked to stick this up as a podcast on the .weebly site. If anybody hasn't come across that yet, the TNS Radio, www.tnsradio.weebly.com is where all the lads' pods are going up. Right, where was I? You're bloody distracting me now, Paddy. Give it a rest. Right, where was I? Right, okay, so yeah, we're going through this condensed period of area of time-space. and that this could very well potentially explain the explosion in accelerated development of humanity since the Industrial Revolution. We may even have seen this effect coming for thousands of years, possibly, you know what I mean? We're basically on a bell curve of star density, and we're reaching the point of apogee, the point at which we cross through the area of the galactic plane where the majority of stars are condensed around it. Something like 98% of all the stars in the galaxy are within this 2% narrow band that we're about to pass through. Again, 21st of December 2012, it's a lovely mystical date, probably not that accurate, about 75 years either side, but it doesn't matter. We are either approaching apogee or at apogee, and the glorious thing about this time is it may well be the great unravelling. The intimidation and totalitarianism that we have all seen and become dismayed at may well just unravel itself just as simply as it was constructed. That may be the great truth of December the 21st, 2012, that it may be the beginning of the great unravelling. Please don't let it become the great letdown because everybody expects fucking Jesus to turn up, or an asteroid storm, or Nibiru, or any of that bullshit. It may be something very much more subtle, something much more like the stroke of midnight, where you go from it becoming darker to it becoming lighter, and no more perceptible than that imperceptible change. But the moment of midnight is crucially important when you're considering a transition into the dawn. Okay, so this may be the dawning of the age of Aquarius, but it's fucking midnight. You know what I mean? We've got a long way to go yet, people, and we need to both accept change and become part of that change. I think if we're going to make any manifest changes in our reality, and that's possibly the most important lesson from this, is that with this, I haven't mentioned the fact that consciousness is involved in all of this. All quantum experiments have to exclude the experimenter, because the experimenter will affect the experiment by their observation. That's proven fact. So, alright, well, Vin, I hope you've enjoyed your vino, nursemaid and your missus. Lads, I hope you've enjoyed listening. I could go on with this psychobabble all night. My missus calls this my great mission of woo-woo, which I'm serving up to the population whether they like it or not. What should we go out with? Why is it that I always want to play something rude? Well, I've had loads of bloody copyright material on here today, so let's just see what we've got here. I actually fancy some Ian Jury. I don't know about you lot. Just got to bloody find it now, haven't I? Okay. Like I say, Paddy, I'll be chucking the pod up as soon as. Might be a day or two. Just gonna have to edit out all the music because it's not been non-copyright as my stuff normally is. Oh bloody hell! I can't find a thing now. What am I looking for? Oh, Ian Jury, that was it. All right, okay. I'll be a bit further up here. No, it'll be back that way if it's anywhere. Oh, bloody hell, typical. Not under eye. Go figure, it'll be a bloody 0 and a 1. Oh, God's sakes. Alright, okay. Well, let's stick something on, because otherwise I'm going to run out of time. Alright, okay, let's have a bit more, I don't know. I'm going to play this one just because it's going to get right up people's noses. This is White Stripes Conquest. Anybody want to listen in again? Oh, I would love to play Ricky Dicky. I don't have it to hand. I'll try and dig that one out. This is White Stripes and Conquest. Turn down your speakers or unplug your headphones or something. I'll be back on at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, the universe willing. My best wishes to Vin's missus. I hope she gets well. Can't manage on here without the boss. And thank you all for listening in for this this marathon science lecture, and the wonderful Larder, and John. Hopefully we'll be having those back on air soon. Alright folks, that's me done. It's Freeman Jack on TNS Radio for Vin, because he's busy being a nurse, and this is White Stripes Conquest.